Steve doing?
I don't know.
Sorry,
That was really unfortunate when we came on.
I'm struggling to get this paint out of this proper. Sorry, I may have looked slightly old then.
That was amazing. That's getting clipped for the compilation. Excellent. Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 5, episode 41 of the Plastic Crack podcast. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. Of course, if you are watching on the catch up, thank you for watching. But for everyone who's turned up, welcome. We're pleased to have you here tonight. We're going to be talking about how important is scenery in a war game, but more importantly, it has to be on my channel, didn't it?
It did.
That's it. Well, that was it. We haven't sworn, but Steve got us off in 2 seconds. Got us off is probably not the right phrase either.
No, I think we should just end this stream now. It's all gonna go downhill from it. There's no getting away from it.
Considering what you were talking about before we even went live, I'm not surprised to be fair.
I needed to get it out. I needed to get that out. Right. Anyway, apologies. I was not around last week, but I did watch the stream. I wasn't ill, but unfortunately, my youngest was, and because the kid's bedroom is right at the top on 2 floors above me, I wouldn't hear them. So I was sitting there, and I tell you what, I don't need any super glue. I'm just going to bottle what was coming out my daughter's nose, because that was not coming off. That has not come off the pillows or the furniture. It's like kryptonite. It's mad. You know the amber in Jurassic Park that's holding the just imagine that, but green. I know. She's much better now, though. Thank you. So anyway, let's see who we've got here tonight. We're gonna have a right good laugh tonight. So we've got Hippo's Hobby Hours. Good evening from Belgium. Hello.
Hello.
I'm bringing Dom round to Belgian beer. I'm bringing Dom round to
Belgian
beer. Sour cherry.
Don't make it sound like it was hard work. I can drink
Belgian beer. It wasn't hard work at all. It wasn't hard work at all, to be fair. Although I still tell you what, they could not have had more than one of those cherry ones, because that would have ended everything.
We would have turned into James after that. What's it beer?
peanut butter.
Yeah,
Candy or whatever it was. Paul, hello from a glorious Mercia. So glorious. And tonight while waiting for glued plastic Combrogi to dry. Excellent stuff. Mike Schubert, hi from the balmy West Cape. Fantastic. Busy painting Victrix successor phalangites for a saga early successful one.
Good job.
Interesting. Make sure you post up some pictures in the Facebook group. By the way, you can find links to the Facebook group and all of our channels, including Ken's channel, down below. Actually, I don't know if it is Ken's channel or his old one. It should still go. It'll go somewhere. Whoever it goes to, subscribe to them. You know, some random person's going to get all these random subscriptions. And of course, we are sponsored, as always, by the chaps over at Boards and Swords. Go over there, and whatever you order, just put in the code PCP5 and you'll get 5% off. I believe a load of Midgard orders went in and arrived. Yeah. I did see those floating around. I've got mine down here like everyone else, but I didn't think anyone would appreciate another photo of Midgard. David Baker, how you doing? Andrew King, David Few, Lazy Pirate Painting, Pat Neal, Rich. He's working on some bases for Midgard. I've got some stuff drawing for Midgard as well, and also for Beneath the Lily Banners. Is this part of the big Beneath the Lily Banners thing, or is this a separate thing? I still want to check out Beneath the Lily Banners just because of what that chap told me at Warfare. With the combat resolution, where you go down and it's sort of like, are you uphill of the end? Steve, did he tell you this?
No.
So they had this massive game at Warfare that they were using Beneath the Lily Banners for. It's huge Franco-Dutch game.
Very good.
And when you do the resolution and you're using it for the Great Northern War, you go down the list and it's kind of like, like +1 if you're uphill, +1. And at the bottom it just says, "Are you Swedish?" +1. Which I think is amazing. Seriously, Wargaming. Good afternoon from Ontario, Canada. Cold and sunny here with a chance of bears. That's what we like. No, I don't know if we like
it. That's the weather report and half that.
That is. You've just upped your game. What do you get them in Mercia as well? Bears.
Bears. No, it's just the locals. John Surbury's here. Red Steph. All right, Steph. Did Jill get her transport? I mailed it out. Is Jill stuck that together yet? Her bolt action transport. Just wondering. Rich John is here. Bicker City, how you doing, dude? James from Shakers Roost, Trey Janik, how you doing, dude? He's painting some King James II foot guards for Beneath the Lily. Everyone's doing Beneath the Lily banners. Mort Six here. Alid, how you doing, dude? Sam Rushmere, hi all from a windy Norfolk. Lots of moisture over the weekend. I bet it bloody was. I'm in such.
I bet there was.
Jesus.
Oh no! It was horrific. We had our sites going until Friday, where it was freezing cold. So I was on site on Friday, and trying to even just get the the shovel in the ground was horrific. And then it was just a walkout all weekend.
Yeah.
David Kerr, how you doing? Shift patterns haven't allowed for much hobby recently. Looking forward. Stuck in some Battlefleet Gothic.
Ooh, good stuff.
Excellent stuff. Classic. Right. Bicker City, already done you. Alex, how you doing, dude? Storm of Steel, how you doing? Alex, I saw a video today that said that Trench Crusade, which is now apparently is now the new Warhammer, is World War One. I quote, as it should have been. What a comment.
There we go. Can we get Alex a copy and get him to video his response to it?
Oh no, who even says that? This is war how it should have been. This is World War One how it should have been.
Yeah, it's an interesting take.
I'll send you the link. We're doing Benjamin's here, Carazette, Martin Hoey, Mobon Hostile, Richard Hawes, how you doing, dude? Robin, haven't seen you here before. How are you? Who are you? John McLennan, David Benton, how you doing, dude? Dermot Connolly, Greta Prigo, Neil Oldham, William Dutton, how are you doing? Joseph, Yorkshire, no, that's not Yorkshire, that's Yorkshire. Yorkshire Dragoon, how are you doing, dude? Dutch Army Painter, Duke Wellington, John Soberry. I think I've gone for you. Trevor Hodgkins, and I think I'm going around. Nathan, Double Dip. I was waiting to see what that was. The real Stee. We have the real Stee. Real Stee is here. Major Clanger is here. Shell Shock Scenics, friends of General Haig. Thank you.
Hello,
Andy.
Thanks for filling in like a substitute teacher last week. That's fantastic.
We didn't even notice that Martin was missing with Andy last week.
I did see all the. I saw a bunch of comments, right, that said Martin's gone great, and then one underneath that says he doesn't look that much different. And I think it was Matt. I don't know what they're saying about you, Andy, but anyway, history does. It was a cracking episode last week. I really enjoyed that while I was painting this week. And Camberwell Johnny, and it's done that thing where it all goes down to the bottom. If I've missed you out, sorry, Luke. Hello, excellent.
Hello.
Apparently he's read the PDF. Alex says he's read the PDF already. Fantastic. Now, so guys, tonight we're going to be chatting a little bit about how important is scenery in a war game. And we got thinking about this because we were talking about it, funnily enough, like a couple of weeks ago. But also there does seem to be a bit of a burst at the moment on the group, and certainly in people's battle reports, where people are really focusing on their tables, and it's not just about a single piece of terrain, because you could have the most awesome looking castle and you put it in the middle of a board that's flat and boring, and it still doesn't feel to me like a castle. So that's what I want to talk about. Like, how important is it to you? Is there a line that you draw where you won't game? I know we talked about that before, but also we've each picked out a couple of games that we've had recently, or table builds that we've done that we're proud of, and why, and how we played them in scenarios. And instead of the viewers' pictures today from the Facebook group, I'm going to share all of these awesome boards and layouts that people sent and commented on in response to the post I put up. And there is a lot, and I've got a lot of ideas. But first of all, we should probably just catch in with people. Are you two all right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, really good. Thanks. Good week.
Yeah. You got over your open wallet surgery at Warfare.
Yes, I did. And then I spent a load more on the Black Friday sales, but Black November sales now.
Yeah, I've avoided pretty much all of them. But to be honest, I've got more than enough to be getting on with. Although
I thought it was being really good, and then I kept seeing things. I thought, that'll do because I had my first game of Midgard at the club the other night. I suddenly realised that, and thinking I want to double up on the Midgard and also that Hell Caesar. supplement. I thought, I know I need more. So, and the fact that Victrix were doing a sale, and also,
yes,
I just thought, had to happen, really.
My only it's Black Friday week now, isn't it? Or
Month,
November sales, yeah. I put an order in with Victrix, so hopefully that'll be with me this week because I've got some more time off that I can spend here painting stuff. But I was quite. I had to. I'll probably get onto it later, but I've been absolutely battering through my basing supplies. So I had some more stuff delivered today. More mud, more tufts, more super glue.
I've been because I've got all these sabots that I'm working on for Midgard. Oh, there we go. Look, I've got them stuck to this board at the minute. Look, so these are all getting simultaneously. Cause I don't like sabot bases generally. So I'm trying my hardest to get them to, because I feel that again, I think this will probably come on to part of the topic. I don't feel that I like bases to sort of blend in. And it's the same reason I don't like particularly like movement trays. I never did in Warhammer. They annoyed the crap out of me. I'm trying really hard to find ways to blend them in to the point where even though there's no casualty removal in Midgard or Hail Caesar, because I'll be using it for Hail Caesar as well, where I'm going to have gaps on the command bases, I've made loads of plugs so I can plug the holes because I can't have gaps. I can't have gaps on there. It'll annoy me too much. Anyway, Steve, what have you been up to?
Midgard stuff. I think I've caught the Midgard bug because I've got all kinds of stuff going on. What did I finish last week? So on the stream last week, I showed my first command base, Hagar.
Oh, yes, I did see. Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
So like I say, I time off work last week, so I had loads of time just to concentrate on painting, and I finished my first unit of Vikings. Oh no, they're not. That's skeletons.
Did they been on the Atkins diet? What's wrong with them?
It was a hell of a voyage, and they got a bit.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Very, very nice.
My first. Now when we're talking about the Sabbath basing, I don't like them. I don't like movement trays, so I just glued them all down onto the tray and onto the base.
You see, that's what I would do if I was doing it from scratch, but because I'd done them all for ducks. I've got 50 odd Arthurians that are all single based already, and I can't be. And the basing I was quite pleased with, so I don't want to, rip them off the bases.
So this is the thing: is I'm starting from scratch with this. I've got no pre-existing armies that I can just rebase. So there they are.
That's a very cool face, though.
There they are in a really destroyed monastery somewhere. Thanks, Craig. I'm really enjoying painting these. They're just the Victrix Vikings. They go together so well.
Are they your first Victrix sets? Your first proper.
I've painted some of the medieval foot knights, but these are the first proper that I'm putting together for an army. And they're wonderful.
They are. Victrix is really good. But what you'll notice, the more sets you get now, is that essentially you have exactly the same poses across every single set, just with like different clothes. Like it works really well. What gets you out the Viking set, and I think it's very similar to the Saxon set, is you obviously have those shields, and when you glance at them, you think they're all the same size.
And
no, they're not. No. They're not. So when you're matching up, because I'm not that I want to cast aspersions on your painting ability, but I assume those are the little big men.
They are most definitely little big men. Studio.
So when you're lining those up, it can be a real pain in the ass when there's like a mill. Yeah,
it is. I mean, do you know what I've got? I found a new way of enjoying those. Normally when I do little big man decals, I wreck them, right? Every single one I screw up without, on every occasion. However, I really enjoy adding my own colours and weathering and fixing them. Yeah. And I think I don't know why, but I've really enjoyed doing that and making them a bit more weathered than they look. But no, they turn out really well though. The LBM decals, they're just so good.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
I do that as well. I still use whatever pigments I'm using on the basing and the clothes. I throw that onto the shields to blend to just kind of bring it together a little bit.
Yeah, I've been using dark tone wash, just to add weathering, add a bit of muck and grime. So after I'd finished those, I got onto the multi-basing sort of bug, and I thought, what else can I multi-base?
Is he? I can't tell if he's joking. Can I yellow card him for that?
So what I like about Midgard is that you can play it as historical or fantasy, or you can play fantasy against historical. There's loads of different ways you can play it. So I thought, I've got my undead that I did for Warlords of Error one. They were all on multiple bases. So sorry, it's like single bases, and I didn't really like them. So they got the same treatment. So I just multi-based them as well.
They're awesome. I noticed as well that the feet are secured beneath the clump foliage.
Oh yes, they are. When they're actually still,
they actually got feet.
No, these are actually still on the bases. What I did, I just glued the bases straight to the MDF base, and then covered them all with mud, and then hid them. What's up? See the guy at the chap on the far left at the back. So something awful happened to him. Once I'd finished, I was admiring my.
Because bigger skeletons are a really good thing in life. Yeah.
I was admiring my handiwork, and the base fell out of my hand, and just hit the floor. I thought, oh god, no! And when I picked it up, the one figure was missing. So I went, oh god, I wonder what's happened to him. Moved my chair, and the wheel went over him.
Oh.
So he had a really bad afternoon. He got crushed by an office chair. Thankfully, the only thing that happened was he was snapped at one of his legs. But given that he's got separate feet, I didn't see this as much of a catastrophe for him. So then I moved on to a second one. Oh no, not that one. It's this one here. So the guys with the swords and shields.
That's very cool. I love that one on basically in the foreground. The look on his face, that is ace.
He looks evil. They do look evil, that set. But I sat down there and it worked out. I don't really have to. No. Yes, very observant. I'm assuming it was a dude anyway. I don't actually have to add much to these the skeletons. I'm going to actually multi-base in all of them. All I need to do is make one more infantry unit and 2 heroes, and that's it done. That is it completely done.
And this is what I think is good, because we were obviously, fair enough, people are building them for Midgard. But take your Vikings, for example. All you've got to do is put 2 of those bases together, Steve, and that's a Hail Caesar unit.
Yep. Yeah.
That's it. And that's all I'm going to do with my for my Furies. I've just got one base, one of the Sabbats for Midgard, 2 of them for Hail Caesar.
Well, these as well. I can the Vikings. I can use those for Warlords of Error one as well. As barbarians. There's so many different things. I'm also doing it in 10mm as well. I'm finally using those 10mm orcs that I bought last year.
We saw rock miniatures at Warfare. Did I send you the picture of the totally not Space Hulk that they've done? Have you seen it?
No. Rings a bell. It rings a bell.
So for 90 of your English pounds, they've reproduced the whole of Space Hulk, but essentially at 15mm, but with MDF walls and rooms. It was quite impressive. Even Dom was looking at it, and all the tokens at MDF as well.
I might have to look at that. Yeah. So this gives me an actual reason to paint up these 10mm orcs that I bought last year. It'll be December because I'm in the Christmas sale. And I'm going to pick up a second army, probably undead, and so I'm going to be playing at 28 and 10mm. So yeah, very cool. It's my thing of choice at the moment. Really enjoying it. The rules seem brilliant. The quality of the rule book is fantastic. I'm enjoying the Facebook group. So yeah, it was a bit of a Midgard week last week.
I'm just going to quickly bring this up because I've seen now like 6 or 7 comments on it. But we'll talk about it later. Yes. I think we were talking about this before the stream. It's very exciting. It's also nerve-wracking.
It's also quite scary. Well, there you go. We'll see what they've done with it.
Well, for me, Steve's sitting there laughing. So
I just want to see you. Can you promise us when you get the book, you open it and do an immediate reaction video as you're opening it, reading through it?
You want me to do a?
I want to see your immediate, untarnished view. Yeah.
I want to see. My first thing is going to be if they've copied the map. This is how sad I am. If they've copied the map from the main rule book, that Gloucester isn't 100 miles away from where it actually is in the UK, which was like up near the Pennines in that map. Anyway, no, that's cool. No, that's really cool. It's really nice to see. It's been really cool about Midgard, and this is what I'm saying. It's the first thing, certainly for a long time, where I've felt like the urge to get in on it as well. It's really cool to see on it.
I said it in the Facebook page, but without blowing smoke up James's arse, because I see he's
he's watching. He's in here.
Yeah, he's in the chat. But I thought, and I've read millions of rule books. Well, not millions, but thousands of rule books probably. And for first game, funnily enough, we were chatting today on our little group chat around the game we had on Friday at the club. And we said, I don't think we got anything wrong. I'm sure we did, but it was nothing. When you reread when you've had one game and then you go back and have a look at the rules, you think, oh shit, we got that wrong, we got that wrong, we got that wrong.
Yeah.
But it was so clearly laid out and it's so obviously been well play tested that even the things that you think, oh God, I wonder what happens in that situation, they've got it. It covers it. I think it's really well done. Really well done.
What's been really good on the Facebook group especially is the sheer amount of diverse forces people are coming up with. People are digging out armies they've not seen in 45 years and rebased them. And you've got. I'm really rather jealous that I'm doing mine from scratch. But it's been really, really good seeing the different things people are coming up with. And I mentioned it in the Facebook group on Saturday when I was doing the 10 mil stuff. That force creation system, it's so easy, so simple, but it really can be used to come up with some really unique forces. I'm looking forward to build.
If you just think that you want to have a particular view of the army. No, there's one in the book.
Oh no, I didn't know if he just meant that the Excel.
Oh no, I did. I'm just going through the one in the book, just using the different traits and that you can reach points or increase points with armor, and the way you put together sort of monsters and monstrosities. It's really well done. It's just rather than having reams and reams and reams of you must use this unit or you must use that unit, it just allows people to tailor what they've got. So if they've got a particular idea in their head, they can tailor that their force towards that.
Absolutely. Who will be more upset, Martin with the Warriors Hood or Alex with the Trench Crusade?
We can do a double. We could get the two of them side by side.
I am really excited, and if the latest Once a Future King is anything to go by, and if obviously it's different authors, so that if he's got his own, but if that's the kind of the way that they're going, then I'm optimistic. The Gallic Wars supplement was also really good. So good. And they've already had the base stuff for a long time. They've had it with the Perry downloadable stuff. The second edition has got the whole chapter for late medieval warfare. So I doubt they're going to change any of the core stuff that much. It's where we go into details that I might be, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And anyway, you don't just because if I don't like it, don't have to play it. It'll just be really sad. Dom, what have you been up to?
I'm going to chuckle so much on this. Do you know what? It actually makes me worried if I ever do a review of the book itself, because Martin will be picking holes in my review, let alone a fucking project. Anyway.
Will be.
What have I been? I've had it's been horrible weather, so I've done quite a bit of painting. So strap yourself in. Actually, not that much. I've done a reasonable amount. So I cracked on with. I showed this on the Facebook page, but I'll show them again. That's the Union Sniper Group for War of the Roses. Yeah, they're in that. Didn't you know? It's in the supplement. I just thought, Berdan's Sniper Sharp.
Are those the ones you got at Warfare?
They are, yeah.
Oh, that was like
there's only 12 of them, mate. How long does it take you to paint 12 figures? For God's sake,
well.
I just fancy doing them. That's all. What I did like about them, a number of them had tactical rocks already. So then I added a few more rocks in. Talk about sort of, making a table out of the bases. But that's, so quite pleased with how they've come out. And actually, I beat the speed because this this battery arrived 2 days ago, and I painted them last night.
For God's sake.
Oh,
I
wow.
just thought, fuck it, I just
lovely.
They arrived yesterday.
Yeah, they arrived. No, what day is it today? It must have come Saturday. So what day are we? Monday? Yeah, so I painted them yesterday. There you go. They're Old Glory. They're quite small, but they're rather nice. I quite like them. Came out all right. I thought, butternut. You just spray them brown, don't you? Few tones in them. They come out all right.
Just to remind everyone that Dom's opinions do not reflect the channel that he's necessarily on.
I'm just waiting for the comment from Don. Where's Don? No, he hasn't said anything yet. So yeah, that's that. So that was my ACW itch scratched, but then I moved on to doing a few more command groups actually for the Saxon forces that I'm doing for Midgard and also for the Age of Arthur book. So there you go. There's one Saxon command.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I think I have him somewhere. Don't know where, but I'm sure.
Gripping Beast, I think they are.
Yeah.
I picked them up at Warfare too. There you go. Can't hang around. So yeah, and that was quite nice. So I'm trying to do the thing that James suggested for Midgard, where level 3 commanders have, or you've got 3 heroic thingies. You have 3 figures, and then that's another one.
Yeah, I'll be doing that. Oh, cool.
Oh, that works.
Is that a Gripping Beast one at the front?
Yeah, I think so. The one at the back with the axe is footsore resin, and I can't remember where the other one. Actually, they're a bit out of focus. Can't really see from there. But yeah, they're Gripping Beast. And then these dudes. I mean, his face is a bit weird. Tactical head, obviously.
Tactical head.
Head.
Always like that. I think it's a couple of people here who said they're not sort of not feeling the Midgard. David, it's not it's been around for quite a while now. It's just that the rule book's finally been published, but it's been around for quite a long time. I don't think it's going to be a craze. There's been quite a lot of
I agree.
Well, it's been quite.
I was going to say, when was the last? I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. When was the last time that all of us were interested in a new release at the same time?
I genuinely
I can't remember.
I don't think there's something that came out that we were all simultaneous. There's some things that have come out where one of us played and then the others got into it.
Yeah,
but I don't think there's anything new, shall we say?
No.
Even then, it's not even new. Like I was just saying, but it's had it's finally made it its publication.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think, but I also think because, like you were just saying, you can use them for different things. So the Age of Arthur Hail Caesar supplement, you can use them for various other things. So I whether or not they just play Midgard or I use them, that's my aim. Is like you saying, 12 figures for this is a unit. So then 24, so 2 units is enough for Hail Caesar. So perfect. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. To other people as well, just numbers of figures don't even matter, do they? Because it's just 120 mil frontage.
It's blocks.
It's great. Yeah, and that's perfect. That guy's awesome. I love that. Another tactical head.
Another tactical head. And the guy's going to be my champion. I guess he's sort of a druidy.
I was going to say a druidy
thing. Yeah, I don't. He was in. I think he was in a pack that came out. I think it's another Gripping Beast one. But anyway, yeah, that's that, and then a couple of
oh,
more
why not? Yeah.
So just because, why not? So I do like the monk with the knife and the cross. I like that figure. It just reminds me of somebody. Don't know who. And then I don't know why. I found this. Well, I think this figure was one that you got with the new Dead Man's Hand, wasn't it? I think.
I think it wasn't it with the good supplement. That was with
the good supplement. Yeah, you're right. That's it. Exactly it. So I thought I'd paint him up as well to join those forces. There you go. Yeah, that's what I'm up to. What about you?
I've not done as much as you, but I've been doing quite a lot of planning. Sorry, I'm just trying not to fumble around. There's been quite a lot of orders coming in for Ragged Staff. I assume it's because we're approaching Christmas. So I need to go through a little bit of a restock. So I have. What have I been working on? So I had the battle against Robin, which was good fun. It was another Punic Wars game, which it was brutal. It really was. I mean, I know I kind of always say that about the games, but the casualty count in this one was sort of off the charts. I've not really played one. I don't think where there's been. We were running out of counters like after like the third turn. But yeah, that was good fun, especially because we were using the flaming pigs. So we came up with some rules for them, and I think they worked well because they weren't ridiculously overpowered, but they still did something. If you got them off right. And we were using the new ballista as well, which is brutal. That is brutal. Targeting innocent elephants.
That was the funniest thing when that ballista fired. I thought it did. And you told me what had happened, and I still laughed my head off.
Well, it was when you mean, yeah. Just in case anyone hasn't seen it, there's a moment in the game where I could have just quit. It was in like the last turn though, so I couldn't believe that happened. But yeah, that was a great deal of fun. So that's live on the channel now. But we did away with points in this one. I thought we've done 2 games where we used points. I'm done now. That's it. I'll use the forced composition restrictions. I'm quite happy to use those. 1 elephant for every 8 units or whatever, but bugger points, we didn't use points, and it worked out. Is a very pretty even match throughout. So for the people who care about balancing, you don't have to just use points. Other things now, I know Dom was working on these. So these you put these up last week. So these are the people of the Heroes of Camelot set, the Arthur set. So we've got Lancelot and Guinevere. I don't know why Guinevere's come out so pale. She's not that pale on the model, I swear to God. So we have Lancelot and Guinevere, Mordred and his mummy. I really like that Mordred model.
Mordred's my favourite figure.
He's really nice. I think he's a different sculpt. I think a lot of the range has been done by one sculptor, and then someone's done a couple of others because he's definitely got a completely different feel. Arthur and Merlin. I decided to do Merlin as a raggedy old druid, which is how he's kind of presented in the Warlord Chronicles, and it's Arthur. I've actually tried to. I'll talk about it in the video as well. But I've inverted the armor colors for Arthur and Mordred. So you've got everything's got a gold trim on Mordred, whereas everything's got a silver trim on Arthur. Nice. And I tried out, because it's meant to be the antithesis of it. I tried out this, which is the AK Super Chrome color. Right. I don't know if it's actually gonna. Let's see if it comes out. It's on my palette, just here. But can you see it?
It's very shiny. It's
a mirror.
Yeah. It's it's ridiculous. So I painted the sword purely with that to start with, and I was like, okay, I know I want it to look like Excalibur, and Martin will be pale off. Leave me alone. I want Excalibur, but that's just ridiculous. So I basically have done all the edge highlighting on certain swords and magic weapons with it. It's very nice. It's actually in ink as well.
Did it like he had a tinfoil sword?
Yeah, basically. And then my 2 the Galahad and Gawain are in them, and then there's a little photo of Mordred and Arthur going at it with Morgan and Merlin in the background. I will. I'm looking forward to using those, and because I know you multi-based yours, and I've single-based mine as well, because for some reason the Warlord supplement came out around about the same time as Midgard, but because in that Warlord supplement you have to deploy the heroes in the units. So that'll work quite well for me because I'm using Sabbats, so I can just pop them in, and as you're rolling randomly to see which knights turn up along with Arthur, that'll be quite fun. And then all the leftover knights, I'm just going to use to form the bodyguard unit. and they'll be as heavy infantry. So I've got quite a lot of artillery. I think once I've got how many have I got? Once I've got these sabots done, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of infantry of varying heaviness, 1 unit of skirmishers, soon to be 2, 1 unit of cavalry, and enough sort of heroes to do 4 or 5 command bases of varying levels. So yeah, I'm just going to add in some skirmishers. I've got
quiet for a bit. Yeah.
like I say, I mean that's all painted. That's what I've got that's painted. Up there, I've got some Victrix heavy infantry to put together because I want to put banners on every base, so I need more flags. I'm fed up of not having flags in the Punic Wars. It's annoying me. I need more flags. So yes, that's what I've been doing, and then
nice.
Obviously just getting ready for a couple of other videos. So everyone has been very, very busy. Where else are we? Let's have a quick look at the chat. I'm going to ignore anything to do with the Wars of the Roses. It was a great game, enjoyable. So exploring ideas right now. Guinevere, the House Iron Deficiency. Yep.
Yes,
absolutely. No, okay. I'll tell you what I didn't. I was talking to Miller because he was asking if I'd watched and if the others had watched that Winter King series that came out, and I did watch it, and I was essentially telling him not to. And I said, just get the audio book or the book, or just get the audio book. And I went on there, and they've done that thing where because the series has come out, they've replaced the front cover of the book.
Oh God! Yes.
With whereas I've still got, so I was at my parents', so I dug these out from the mid-90s where I got them as well, the original
proper
covers,
old originals,
the nice one for some reason we're going to put the Sutton Hoo helmet on on for Arthur. So yes, I have my originals there. So they're getting another read at the minute. Right then.
Yeah, Elaine was saying to me, she saw it on the thing, and she said, there's a thing. You like that book series, didn't you? And I said, I'm not allowed to watch it because Martin said I can't.
I mean, you can watch it. I just don't want to hear that you enjoyed it.
I might watch it tonight. I might watch it once, see what it's like.
Oh, it's just God.
What's it on?
Toilet paper.
I can't remember. I think it might be toilet paper.
It's MGM. It's on MGM. Did you know that MGM had a streaming service?
Yeah,
no,
I think I almost signed up to it to watch the last Beavis and Butthead film.
You know, when you go on the Sky thing, if you've got Sky, it brings up just a random load of things that influence by what you watch. So clearly, it brings up things like that for me because that's all the sort of things I watch.
Yeah, I get Beavis and Butthead.
I'd rather watch Beavis and Butthead. I'm sure some people liked it. It's been cancelled, so yeah. Anyway, yeah. So
yes, I read that.
There we go. Right. Let's have a chat about the topic. Now, I'm pretty sure we could probably answer this in a couple of sentences or even just one word, which is is scenery important in a war game?
Nah,
yes.
Yeah.
Contrary, Dom.
Yeah, it's so I don't know about you guys. So but purely for financial reasons, when I was younger, I was happy to make do with things. But now my armies are sort of complete. I've got big armies, but terrain building is always something that's been going on in the background. Although I have moved away from sort of making terrain, I make some of it. I do trees and stuff. But I just want my boards to be as much a sort of character in the battle as the battle itself. So there's something worth fighting over in the scenario you're playing, and the reasons you're fighting are reflected so often in the game, and it makes a bit of sense. What about you guys? What's your sort of take on terrain, and how has that necessarily changed?
I think for me, when I used to go to club when I was younger, they had a great so we had club terrain. So I never had to really buy any or make any. And if I was playing at home, we had the Necromunda scenery, so I just used that. It's not until recently for me, I'll get onto it in a bit, but it definitely started last year with Space Weirdos. I think that for me, because I've always avoided doing scenery because prior to starting that last year, it never really interested me. I wanted to have nice setups. I just didn't want to invest the time or the money in having nice setups. But for me, it's definitely changed, and it's whenever I start a new project now, I'm thinking, what scenery do I have? What scenery can I make that goes or ties in with that specific new project?
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, John?
I've sort of changed a bit in terms of my view on it. And I was thinking about this morning, actually, when I was looking for pictures and what have you. So when I first started gaming and sort of played for many, many years, I can't say it didn't bother me, but I didn't have a huge amount of decent terrain. So it was not high on the priority list. As long as we had a good, fun game and it was getting the toys out and imagining you were whoever you were, Alexander the Great or Genghis Khan or whoever, it was more fun than worrying about it. But that said, every time you went to a convention or to a show to see beautiful laid out tables, it was just like, wow, that's the aspiration, right? That's what I want to do. Now, as I got older, and as you said, when you've got money's not quite so much of an issue as it used to be when you were a kid, or when you were starting out your family life and whatnot. It's become more and more accessible to me. So I've got the space here as well, which makes a huge amount of difference.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of room there, haven't you, Dom?
Terrain takes up a lot of space, though, doesn't it? I
was going to say, Dom, that's one thing that's hindered me over the years. Is I live in a virtual shoebox, and space is at a premium.
Exactly.
So I've got to be quite tactical about where I store things. So at least my Space Weirdo stuff, it all fits into like a really small cardboard box, and it's over there.
Yeah. So when I was sort of gaming in the garage, it was or in a front room somewhere, it was whatever you could get in a box, and that was it. So having this space, having a little bit of disposable income to be able to get on spend on it, has been perfect for me. So suddenly I can start to put a lot more effort in on the terrain, and I love the visual effect of it. It reminds me of all those convention games I used to see all those years ago for years and years and years. So yeah, I absolutely love them. Is the games any better? I don't know. That's a question and a half. I'd be interested. I know for you it is, Martin.
I'll answer that. Yes. Absolutely. I get, and this is just me personally, I just get a little bit sort of like sad now. That's nothing to do with the people I'm playing. I enjoy that part of it so much, like seeing a really not even necessarily just because you can get tables where they're just crammed full of scenery and it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if this is part of my, because I do for a living or a bit like that, but roads to nowhere always annoyed the hell out of me when I was playing Warhammer, even as like a 13-year-old, and like you didn't have enough road. I'd have to be a reason, and I would rather just not have the road than have a road that just ended for no reason. It pissed me off. Other things like houses just like plonked on the open farm. Again, it doesn't matter, and you don't need it to play the game. But if you're talking about immersion and you're talking about a battlefield, then obviously just having a little path or something that goes to that you, even if you just use a bit of sand, to create a scout, it just helps. With immersion, I should probably just say before we get into this, obviously we're not saying that this is the perfect way to game or how you have to game, but a bit like a comment that Alex says, and I agree with this, is you can have I think the table elevates everything. You can have mediocre models, and mediocre painted models, or you can have poorly painted models on an amazing table and they will look great. If you have like a very bland or flat green table with not a lot going on, to me it stands out, and it just it breaks in, for me it just breaks part of what I enjoy about the hobby.
See, I think I agree with you to a point. I think the visual effect, certainly it does, but I think I still go down to the club on a Friday night, and if I don't bother taking any train or whatever, we use what little there is in the train cupboard, which isn't very good and is a bit dogged and a bit knackered. will we still have a damn good game? Yeah, we'll have a good laugh, and so we still have fun doing it. Yeah. Is it as visually as spectacular as, say, some of the games I've had on here? Definitely not, but it's still been fun. So I'm not of the view that has to be, visually stunning to be good.
Oh no, fun. That's what I just said. I said that's not what I'm saying. I mean, obviously, if it was good, you'd have had a better game. I'm just saying that now. If I went down the club, I'd just start making scenery for the club. I'd just start taking it, but then that's part of it, because I don't play down a club. I play with lots and lots of different friends, and we've built up a lot of scenery between us. We all kind of focus on different things, or between us, we've all got trees, we've all got fields, and between us we can put on, any kind of table we like. How much do you feel it do you ever think of the table up first, then think of the scenario, or do you think of the armies and the scenario and then try and build a table to fit that?
When we play bolt action, if we're doing a scenario game, we choose a scenario first. I will then spend about an hour and a half moving stuff around the table. Ian shows up and does it better than I do. That's generally how we set up scenery. I can never be, when I'm setting it up, I'm trying to tell a story, and I want it to look like a real place. I don't want it to look like I've just plonked a bunch of scenery on a table. So I try and think about, because when we do bolt action, it's generally either the Pacific jungles or Northwest Europe. And so trying to get that, it takes me a while. And maybe it's just it's a procrastination thing, but it does take us a while to set it so we're both happy with the setup that we've got.
Yeah. James, get off the fence, you bloody! If you sat on that, I love the people tell me scenery elitism is nowhere near as bad as the elitism in figures in historical wargaming. That is insane. That is insanity. Get off of the fence.
I think he's right. I honestly think I actually agree with him. I think, that's what I'm saying. I think you can. It's about having the game at the end of the day, and if can you have a bloody good day playing with nice figures on a table that's distinctly average? Yes, of course you can. So I don't know. I think. So your question about setting up the table, I've done both. So I've set up a table and the game we played the other Friday, I set the table up, and then we came up with the scenario to fit it. But I've done it the other way around as well, where I thought, well, I've got this in mind. I did one with, which I haven't got any pictures. I was trying to find them, but I did one of Bruce's Ireland project, where in my mind I knew I wanted a raid on the village and relief forces to come. So I built the terrain to match that scenario idea. So I think you can do either myself, but yeah.
I think it's easy. I mean, when I was first playing, I used to use the inserts from the polystyrene inserts and paint them grey.
Yeah,
and use those as town walls, castle walls, like bunkers and things like that. But when I, wanting like a village to actually have quite a few buildings or a footprint like the one you put together, together, Dom. It's to me, if I'm investing the time into the figures and I just, that's what I like to play it, and I'll happily play a game outside of that. That's not an issue. I'd never walk away. Actually, maybe I would, but I would never sort of walk away, from a game because of it. But I would encourage people. If people don't like making scenery or don't like doing it, I just think, say, well, I'm happy to do it. I enjoy that part of it as much as the as the game. The game, there's obviously scenery's also got to complement the game you're playing. Sometimes, if you've got big sweeping divisions and big base miniatures having loads of like scatter terrain, we just move it out of the way and just
So how do you settle for? I mean, yes, because I think you're right about fitting the theme. So how do you feel about a battlefield that's set up to play a War of the Roses game where clearly the buildings are not from that period, but it's still, the table looks lovely?
It wouldn't particularly bother me.
Right.
No, that wouldn't particularly that wouldn't particularly bother me. Any more than it would if you're playing World War II and you chuck like a Dark Ages building on it, which I've seen for people.
Well, I've seen people hit their roof because they're playing an Eastern Front game and somebody's putting a French, chateau or something, and they go actually bananas about that.
You can build you can build a nice table, but it's it's a no, that wouldn't bother me as much. If you still have a nice table, you can have a game. Obviously, if you're trying to reflect a historical battle or a type or a particular period, and and that's the event or the day you're holding, then that's a little bit different. I feel. But the thing is, there's usually some buildings that get quite a lot of mileage, like those conflicts ones. Are essentially good for anything like 14.
Pretty much plus. Anything onwards.
That's absolutely fine. Watland Daub was still being used well into like the 17th and even 18th century, so you're going to be fine with like any of those kind of whitewash walls and all of that, and all that stuff. But I'll give you an example. So one of the table builds that I put together recently that I was really pleased with, and kind of I think was crucial to the scenario was the table was the English Civil War game I played against Miller, where he was attacking essentially a fortified village. So this is a view. That's the view up the table. I had in my head what I sort of wanted it to look like a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see in the foreground, there's like another 2 foot of table, which is just fields and a bit of arbitrary. But I knew that it had to be fairly open to make sense. They wouldn't go to the point of constructing defenses and then leaving loads of trees and cover in the way. The whole point of the scenario was that it was one division versus 3 or 4. I can't quite remember now. So the whole idea. So I needed the table to sort of reflect what in my mind would be quite sort of cinematic, in wave after wave of men moving up the table up a hill. So I created the elevation on there, and then I just thought having the actual village at the back would give an objective, and each of those redoubts on the way are points are in to capture. So in this one I definitely thought of the table before I thought of the how the scenario was going to work. I kind of had it in my head. This is what a 17th century English village is going to look like, with the sort of strip fields coming off of it, and then this is how we're going to do it. And that worked well. And I don't. I mean, yes, you could play that battlefield battle absolutely, and it would be flat, and you could just march across it. But to me, this just gave it another dimension to the game, and it was definitely, it just felt more exciting. But I loved putting this one together. This was a lot of fun. And as I say, it kind of basically the scenario fell together around what it done. That game that we played around yours the other day, you put together that table, and then we built the scenario around what you'd
exactly
set up and the deployment points, because everything on there was sort of like made sense and looked cool. And yeah, no, I thought that was it. What about you, Steve? I know you've got a picture that you've brought over.
Yeah, so it was Space Waders. When last year when we were talking about CrackCon 4, yeah. What we're going to do. At that time, I'd been playing a lot of Space Weirdos. I thought I want to introduce other people to the joy of Space Weirdos. I thought I wanted to run the game with like custom built scenery, and it was the first time I've ever done anything like that. And so I picked up a load of the Zone Mortalis, Necromunda, Games Workshop stuff, and I spent a week or so just gluing it all together, and it ended up looking a bit like that. So, I mean, it's great stuff. It's really modular. You can really go to town on building it. And then when it came to paint it, I left it for about 6 weeks because I just lost all. I just thought, oh God, I've got to paint all this stuff, and it's massive, and I don't know how to paint big bits of scenery. So eventually, I got around to doing it, and it ended up looking like that.
That was awesome.
And that's when I decided to put lights on it, because I just had this, because it's all set up for a 2x2 gaming mat. So you can it's quite close quarters for Space Waders, because you do need a lot of scenery for Space Waders. But what I wanted it to be as well is I wanted it to be sort of have height to it as well. I wanted no ladders and stairways and people jumping between, you know, different levels, and a bit of Hollywood excitement to it. And it just allowed me to do stuff like that, you know, to just really go to town on the actual the details of it. And I spent ages doing this. I watched so many YouTube videos, just looking at all the different techniques people were using, and then I even built, you know, scatter terrain. So I built this mad doctor's surgery out of just all bits and pieces that I had lying around. I got a Mantic like bits box of sort of sci-fi stuff, and I spent ages doing that. And eventually the day came and I set it up, and it looked like this. Where is it? There we go, at CrackCon. And I just thought it just looked better than I when I was building it. I knew how it wanted to look in my brain. I wanted it to be gungy and very much influenced by sort of Necromunda and the Underhive. And I found a really quick way of painting it as well. It's just black paint and a lot of dry brushing, and then that Dirty Dog rust effect stuff. It was all the scatter. It was just a really I did really enjoy it, and setting it up and seeing people playing on it for the first time at CrackCon was just great. And I think it went. If I'd have just used just bog standard, you know, scenery, building it myself, I think I felt a lot happier using it. And I mean, I've used it many times since then, playing Space Weirdos, and I've written a sort of a really basic narrative behind it, where it's set, etc. And it's weird having something like that, just from building scenery to having a narrative behind it as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. One of my favorite hobby things that definitely over the past couple of years. And it just goes to prove that with scenery, if I can do it, I shouldn't be intimidated by it. I mean, I enjoy gluing it all together. I think it looked really good. I've still got loads to stick together, so I was going to do a 3x3 board as well. But that for me is I enjoy getting out every time. You can, you know, it's modular, so I can millions of different combinations, and it just looks the part when I play it. It's just one of my proudest hobby moments.
It was very cool. I mean, my interaction with it mainly involved in changing the colours of the LEDs.
That did happen a lot, yes.
But that's it. But like you say, it's not saying you can still have a perfectly good game of Space Weirdos.
Oh god, yeah.
Battle Wars, but that getting people in the immersion when you have that, you know, a table like that, it just brings it. So you know, it just brings it up. Brings it up a level. It doesn't mean everyone has to emulate it, but it certainly, I think, adds. So, Dom, what about you? Have you got a picture from one that you've done?
Yeah, hang on a second. Just fighting with a half track, and the half track's winning. Do you know what? It's a Warlord kit, and it's actually not that difficult to put together. So I'm amazed.
Is it the German half track?
No, it's the M3A1.
Oh yeah. Oh, lovely kit. Lovely.
Just even a ham-fisted fool like me, I largely managed to get together again with only a modicum of swearing. Right. So yeah, the one. I mean, actually, I'm very lazy because I just thought I'd show off the last one I played on, which was the one we played on, Martin. So you just referenced it, which was this table. Which, to your point, I mean, I basically set it up the day before you arrived, and not really knowing exactly how we were going to play it. But you had mentioned the fact that you were fancying doing something at CrackCon, maybe of a War of the Roses type game where it's an attack on St. Albans. So I thought, well, if I do a little sort of towny sort of thing in the middle of it, that can be the objective. And then, like you say, I do, although I've just said I'm not that fussed about Lovely Terrain in terms of having a game, I love Lovely Terrain. So if I've got the chance to build it, I will, and I'll build it in a logical way. So as you say, having the roads running into a village is important, because if they don't, why they're there, all that kind of stuff. So the river in the right place and various other features. So I do think quite seriously about how the terrain is laid out to sort of work. So that was the top end of the town of the board, and so you've got features like the vineyard just outside the town because they're going to have wine for the Lord, aren't they, for the town and what have you? A couple of farmsteads fielded with the fields next to them because they'll be tending the fields, that kind of stuff. And then the south side was, looking back that way, so you can see the town, as you said, they were sectors to allow us having objectives to fight over. And then we worked out the table from there. But the bit that I found myself doing more and more, because like you said before, Fortunately, I've got the space more than anything else and a bit of money to be able to do these things a bit better than I ever used to be able to. But I'm finding it's the sort of twiddly bits that I'm starting to do around the table. So in this game, we had, a fountain sitting there. Doesn't have any useful function at all within the game.
But it adds to the feel, the immersion of the game.
Adds a bit of flavour. The vineyards.
It's a visual hobby. It's a visual hobby. So.
You got the vineyard and some cows there in a pen beside it, that kind of stuff. I didn't use this in this game, but I got a windmill that's just no good reason that it's there, but it's there. And the one that actually got fought over quite a lot was the cross outside of town. So, it's those sort of things that I really enjoyed putting together and putting into and just sort of random trees and other features around the table just to add a bit of colour to it. So I think if you're doing it, I want to do it properly. As I said before, I can enjoy playing on a perfectly bland, boring table, but if I'm going to do it, I want to do it properly. So I really enjoyed doing that. I thought that was, and I was pleased with how the effects and how visually it looked in the end of it.
I definitely agree what you mean about scatter. Scatter adds so much to it, even if it's just like I've got a resin set and it's just barrels and bags of food, apples, and you just put that outside a pub or a tavern, and it just elevates it. It just makes it about. It has no bearing on the game whatsoever, but from an immersion perspective, it looks really good. I just love stuff like that. Like my Space Waders one, I got some like resin, like toxic pools. That's always fun. And it just added to it. That table there, Dom, would you be happy playing bolt action on that?
I mean, to be honest, you could play pretty much anything.
Yeah, I was thinking
bolt action would work really well on it. I was thinking, in fact, I was very nearly going to have a game of just doing some pike and shot or something on it. Just work with that too.
Well, it'd be good. I mean, about the only thing that again, and there's nothing to stop you doing it, but the only thing that wouldn't, I suppose, make sense is Ancients. That's when it would start getting, or Dark Ages. Essentially, once you go Dark Ages back, you just don't have, because I think that's because also we enjoy history in the way we know in our heads. It's like, that wouldn't. I'd rather that have.
See, my answering my own question earlier about the different buildings, I would look at the building and go, "No, that's wrong." I wouldn't be too anal about it, because as you say, Chris, you go around some parts of this country these days, and you'll see it's like going back into something medieval in terms of the architecture. If it wasn't the fact they had BT branding or what have you everywhere, or those sort of things. So I think you can.
Sorry. So, no, you're right. I mean, but that's it. I mean, because I've got these, the World War II buildings that I did for you. I looked at those and I was going to use those in the St. Albans game. I was like, they're quite, but they got drain pipes.
Yeah,
they got cars and they got drain pipe. Now, obviously, there were medieval drain pipes. The drain pipes on those are, and then there's corrugated iron. I'm like, that's annoying. And
then you start thinking, can I file them off? Can I? No,
and then you're just like, I'll just print a different. No, I absolutely agree that but then those tables that me and Robin set up, they don't take long. Genuinely, they take about 10 minutes. They don't take long to set up. Because
I could say that table took me an hour, well, not even an hour, and that was not rushing at it. It wasn't even that. Probably about half an hour in the end.
Dom, you play regular games at your club. We used to find this that the one I went to when I was younger is that because we had a set amount of time, we only had sort of 3 hours, 3 and a bit hours to play.
Yeah,
the thought that we put into scenery was kind of secondary. It was like we've got X amount of time to play. We don't want to be spending 90 minutes, feng shui in the place and making it look.
I absolutely agree. The standard of the table at the club is, if we're making up a game, is nothing. It's about you've got your 3 hours or 2.5 hours to game. You're going to whack it out. And sometimes, if I'm honest, that's the detriment of the game because you haven't really thought out the scenario properly. But often we'll actually play a scenario from a book, so then you're just following it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we're still going to come on to David. Give us a chance. We've got 53 minutes to go, dude. Come on. We have little to do with set on the table. We still got 53 minutes to chat about it. Come on. Jesus.
Yeah, and your question, David, I did respond in the chat. It was me. I would play on a crap table with mediocre figures. I have done. I regularly have done. That doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it's like my the Saga games that me and that Robbie played. So we were looking to reflect the type of warfare of the period of the Viking Age, if you want to call it that. And the truth is that there wasn't a lot to fight over in the raids. You'd have a couple of it's a couple of like brocks or houses around and some pigs. And then we were talking about this when we were setting them up, going because both of us in our heads we want the battlefield to look better, and then we're sitting in our heads going, but this is what they look like. It's just some barren moors. Lots of trees in certain areas and roads and some rivers. And then when we actually kind of limited ourselves a bit, we actually thought about how to set it out and how the road would actually come in. Some of those Saga battlefields are some of the favorite ones that I've done because they're only 4x3. And you're really limited because you don't want to go over the top. And yeah, to me, it's reflective of what warfare was like at that time, which was obviously the basis being it. Obviously, there were big pitch battles, but that involved getting in the shield wall and smashing into each other until somebody gave up.
Funny enough, the game we played of the weekend on Friday with Midgard. Somebody from the club, because normally we have thousands of figures and lots of terrain and what have you on the table. And a couple of the guys came over and said, "Oh, what are you playing? Why haven't you put your terrain out yet?" Because we were playing the first scenario, which is just a straight up battle, and most of the Dark Age, as you say, most of the Dark Age period battles were there was not really any features. They deliberately found an empty field and fought there because they didn't want anything. So there were a couple of woods on each end, and that was it. That was the terrain. So but it didn't matter. We had good fun.
But that's like our game at CrackCon. Now, our game at CrackCon, you had a fort on a hill, a fort down there, and then essentially that's it. So even then, though, and this is partly Robin's fault, but also me evolving as what I do. I love using scatter material, not scatter terrain. I love using lichen, dirt, grout, sand. I use all of that on the table to break up the space. Doesn't cause cover. Throwing lichen across the table, there's little gorse bushes and weeds. It's so quick. You just throw it all over it, and it looks random. And it's a kind of moorland sort of feel to it that you always get. My roads now, I create with the sort of this ground cover mix that I've created out of grout, coffee to make so it gets rid of the smell, and dirt that I've baked in the garden. And then every time we sweep it up, there's bits of flock end up going in there. So I've got this really nice little mix. I just sort of use a teaspoon and a brush, and I just snake these roads out across the battlefield, and it's unlimited. At the end of it, I just sweep them up. Just put them back in the pot, go outside, shake the mat, done. It's I think as well the gaming mats as well at the moment. The quality of them is getting better, and the variety as well. Is increasing greatly, and so getting a gaming mat and throwing a few things underneath it. And I know people like to use books. I don't use books. I use t-shirts. Because they're bigger for a start, and you can create much more undulating ground. But also, when your models are on it, you can squidge it a little bit, and the model doesn't just fall over. So if there's a slope, you can actually create these. So using things like tablecloths and I use other mats.
That's a really good idea. I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's what I do. It's a video that I've got to do, which everyone keeps asking me to do, which is how do I set them up? Every time we're setting up a battle, I forget to turn the camera on to do a time lapse. But I use if you're talking the Geek Villain, because they come like this. If you put that under a table, that's perfect, and it's big. I like lots of undulation and things like that, and because what you could do, tea towels. If you roll up a tea towel, that can create a nice slope. Yeah, pretty much. And then I empty it and put it all into there. So it's like a good helping of dust and glitter if my kids have been around. So it's definitely something I've used all sorts now. Hoodies are always good because they're quite bulky as well. But Haley can always tell when there's been a game because I've raided the laundry. So the clean laundry, I'd like to add.
Yeah. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, what we'll do, because I know. Well, I tell you what, actually, I'm just going to shut down Bugger the News. We'll come back to the news in a minute.
Yeah.
So the other game that I wanted to show that we did recently that I really enjoyed, and a lot of people like this one now, Robin's going to feature in this photo, was this game we played, which was our Crusade game, which was this where the column of Crusaders had to make their way across down this ravine, which you can't see too well in that photo because obviously I'm up out and they had to go across that bridge. Robin lovingly made that river. But everything else is just a cloth and stuff underneath it and trees. That's all it is. It's just trees. I think sometimes you can do quite a lot with very little. When it comes to boards and like just having stuff to break up ground by putting things on there for bushes or grit to create the roads, as I was talking about earlier, just really helps sell the feel of the game. And then when you actually sort of get to that sort of, where you zoom in a little bit and you look at it and you go, it wasn't particularly arduous to put any of that down. Just went around, just brought it down. And I think that board, again, I think that probably took longer to set up. It always takes longer to set up the figures than it does the table. Counting out all the figures and getting those all on definitely takes longer than it does the table. But I do find myself now thinking about the table more than I do my armies. Because I've got the armies, they're done. And they're going to they'll look the same no matter what, I guess. But in my brain, for some twisted reason, I think they'll look better if I fought the terrain out a little bit more. It's maddening.
Do you think that's the reason why we're more into the terrain is because most of our projects are largely done? It's sort of the last stage in the development, because I don't know many people that go, well, Steve just talked about it with one of his projects there, but I don't know very often that you start with doing a regiment of infantry or whatever, gun, a piece of terrain. You don't sort of do it as part of the flow of the project. Generally, you'll build the army and go, oh shit, I'm going to train for it, or I've got some terrain and I'll build it up. So when you finished your project, you go, right, let's go to town on the train. Let's get that.
That's what I did with Space Waders. I painted the sort of the three I almost said faction then. The three war bands, gangs, whatever you want to call them. I painted those before I even started the scenery. Once the figure was down, I was like, right, now how do I want the scenery to look around these?
Yeah.
I think that was quite important that I'd got the figures out of the way. But the figures definitely drove the scenery. Because I mounted them on Necromunda bases, and the Necromunda bases work really well on the stairways because they slot in because it's Necromunda. But that's what I'm
interested to know from people in the chat whether or not they literally do like that, whether they do it as they go along and they put it in mind at the beginning, or whether it's sort of almost an afterthought at the end of it to do the terrain. For me, definitely it's an afterthought. It always has been.
But you've got specific. So you've got when you're doing your Boxer Rebellion project. You were going out of your way to find.
That was the case. I think that was my one exception where I've done that. Yeah, because as I was building it and I wanted to have a game, I thought, oh shoot, my tables aren't going to look anything like China. I haven't got any paddy fields. I haven't got any obviously Chinese buildings. All my buildings are Western European, or maybe a few deserty ones. So yeah, I kind of had to then go off and invest in a whole load of other stuff, including a massive temple and God knows what else. Absolutely. Case in point for me.
Getting a load of shit about the colour of the river in that photo.
It was.
Go and look at that river on Google Earth, right? Yeah, right. Go and look at it, and then you can go and look at it. And
he protests too much, doesn't he, Steve? I think. He protests too much.
It weren't me. Robin built that.
Yeah, Robin did extensive research.
God, yeah, no, and I had to hear it. I had to hear about it. So yes, I can assure you the river is as Robin said here, it's under a very specific bright blue desert sky. And whenever the photo was taken on Google Earth, it was bloody bright because it was it's always neon on Google Earth. So yes. But what about you guys? Have you got any more pictures of any of the builds, and then we can go to news, and then we've got a lot of questions.
No, I just did my space words. I mean, it's not stuff I've been doing recently, but that's, as I said before we came on, I use that, and I've taken a bit of a break from that because I worked extensively on it for about 4 weeks. All I was doing was scenery, and they're quite time consuming. Painting and dry brushing giant great big wax of resin. But I've been enjoying that, and like I said, I can't wait to get that on a 3x3 table for sword weirdos, or a bigger table for something like Midgard or Warlords of Erewhon. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Have you ever not done a period because you're worried about the terrain?
I wouldn't let it stop me doing a period, if that's no.
I did struggle. Remember when I bought the rules for Zona Alpha, and that's sort of, it's not post-apocalyptic. Is it post-apocalyptic? It's near future, but it's not. It's sort of, you go into the zone and it's all ruined. I think it's Dan and his brother on the Facebook group. I think they play it, and they do some absolutely stonkingly good scenery for it. So it's sort of, it looks like modern day buildings, but they've had a lot of, they're ruined. They've got vegetation growing over them. Think a bit like the Fallout games, something like that.
Yeah.
And I for me, it was, did I want to invest that amount of time into one specific game doing the scenery for it? I probably should, because Zona Alpha is a fantastic game, and there's a couple of people I follow on social media that play Zona Alpha and actually build the scenery for it, and it looks tremendous.
I think I think sci-fi would potentially put me off, but then I would just say we're going to play on. Actually, when I do my Horus Heresy stuff, I just decided it's going to be on a desert planet, and I'm just going to use that cloth. I'm going to get some key pieces of terrain like crash tanks and that, and just put sand over the top of them, and say there you go. I'm going to make it fit what I have.
That's another interesting point. Do you think sci-fi you can? Because with historical, you're sort of you're tied to that period. So if you're having a battle, Wars of the Roses, like Dom's Table there. But with sci-fi, you could say, well, it's set on a planet and it's got all green trees and it's a nice river. So you can use your historical stuff for sci-fi games, but you can't sort of do it vice versa.
I mean, I don't know 40k and that sort of thing, but I mean, they're quite restrictive in terms, or try to be quite restrictive in terms of the figures you use and what have you. Is the same kind of thing with terrain? Or is there was literally go for what the hell they like?
I don't know how it works in shops and that. It used to be that they'd make terrain out of all sorts. I remember the shop in Cambridge had this amazing, like, futuristic refinery, and they'd use the baked bean cans that you get that are like this big. They'd use those to make silos, and it looked amazing. And then one day, GW started producing more of it. It started doing its bespoke sort of plastic kits, and they threw it in the skip. They wanted to donate it to the one of the local clubs, but they were not allowed, it got skipped. But I remember as well, because it was like it was on a like an oil rig. It was like a platform, like, so the base of it was all water, and they had it all on stilts sticking out, and so it's entirely unnecessary, because you basically had a 4x4 table, then another 4x4 table on stilts above it. Like but it was just thematic. But yeah, I don't know how they sit that. I think at tournaments and things, I think if it's generic scenery like trees and things, they don't really care, because they make their own plastic trees and that. But I think because a lot of their scenery has rules. A lot of their scenery is interactive and has rules. So I think you're generally encouraged to but yeah, it's
interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just wondered, because it like you say, I'm not familiar with that, but there's one thing that would, if I ever had the weirdness come over me to do something like that, that I would be a bit put off because I literally have nothing that would work for it. But it's just say you could set it in a desert planet. But to me, that's almost cheating because it's like, well, if I'm doing sci-fi, I want it to look like some futuristic, city or whatever. And I've got diddly for that. So I wouldn't, I probably wouldn't embark upon it. Well, I wouldn't anyway, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. No, I'd say with Star Wars Legion for me, I really wanted to do. I think you guys saw. I built like a 3x3 red sand planet, like to look like one of the ones from I can't remember what the name is now. Geonosis, that's it. And I wanted to do that, and I thought, oh, that looked really cool. And then I got red pigment everywhere, and Haley was going to slaughter me. It was just so annoying in the end. I thought, oh no, and I rebased them all. I said, no, they're on Endor. Bugger it, trees. They're on Endor. Sod it, trees. All right. Well, we've had what we've done here in our first off. We have a good bit. Now we've got some questions that we will go through, especially when it comes to historical scenarios and setting actually what the train is like. So we'll come back to those. But let's do a little bit of news. I've got a few things actually. And then we'll roll through. Where are we? Here we go. Ready? All right. Diddly-doo. Do you want to go first? Because you uploaded like 2 things.
I only uploaded 2 things. I was thinking I didn't see very much this week. So I think I must have been looking in the wrong places. So we talked about this, so we'll just get it out of the way quickly. Is the Hail Caesar War of the Roses supplement on pre-order.
Yes.
Yes, another one that came out of nowhere.
Yes, And everyone who keeps on asking me, no, I didn't know about it at all. I've had a lot of like private messages for some reason. I don't know why everyone wants to know if I do. No, I didn't. I genuinely did not know about it. Dom will attest to the fact that a week ago I was on about getting in touch with them again to see if they wanted to do.
He was saying he was going to have another go at getting to write it for them. Yeah, so I'm intrigued by that one. It's we'll see what comes out of it.
Do you think it's because we're so invested in that period now, a bit like Napoleonics, that we're a little bit? Whereas if we weren't, with the Arthurian stuff, we're happy to be a bit more sort of off the cuff and allow some of the heroic and magical stuff into it. But the Wars of the Roses, it's a lot more.
I like the fact you're lumping me in as some sort of expert on War of the Roses. I don't know diddly. I've got a consultant.
You've just taken my word as gospel. I could have just been bullshitting you. For
exactly. You probably have.
I probably have. Yeah.
So no, I know what you mean. I mean, at the end of the day, whenever you're sort of into a period, let's put it that way, the fact that you worry about it's going to reflect how you view it. Now, of course, there's no reason why you have to use it. You can carry on. If this is absolute pile of turds, we can carry on using your supplement.
The last 2 supplements have been really good. Mike. Yes. So
I wasn't even going to say that, Mike. That figure. No. Jesus, what have they done with that? Look at that fella. I mean, it looks like if they put me in armor, I'd look like that.
I don't know.
What on earth is going on there?
I don't know what they've done with that model. I'm sorry.
If anyone is looking for a model that's in the right with the right armor, that's probably very similar to what Richard has, I can recommend a little manufacturer who
unbelievable. Yeah, it does look like Quasimodo. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Mike, did you see David's comment? David Grummett, who's on the Richard, who's a research fellow for the Richard III site, but he's a wargamer as well, and he's a very grounded person. He said he should show that figure to the Richard III Society and see what they do. They will go. It will be. I kind of want it to happen. Because can
I pay for that to happen?
It would be. It would be.
We must.
Only if there's a GoPro at the meeting, or we could gift it to. We could send them a copy.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah,
I think it's our civic duty to let them know.
I'm a member. I'm a member. Look, I've got my right here underneath all of my really important. Look, here's my membership pack. See that Robin and Matt kindly bought me for my birthday. Look, here's my Richard III badge. Here's my bookmark, and here's my literature. I think there's even homework. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I've got it all there. To be fair, the research stuff in here, the magazines and the journal stuff, they're really interesting. They're really cool. There's a really cool one all about Richard's army that he put together to when he invaded Scotland. While Richard was still so there's all these things about the ordinances and some of the stuff like that. That's really cool and really interesting. Anyway, I digress. What else you seen?
The only other one I picked up on was the new Recon design figures. So that is King Peter II of Aragon and Simon de Montfort the Senior, which they're just really nice. Has he done something different with the horses? Are they different?
Well, he's building out. He's always said to me that that is really weird. He's just messaged me. Oh, okay. That's really creepy. Genuinely, he just messaged me. He always said that he wasn't happy. He loved his original horses, but he wasn't too happy with them, and he's got better at anatomy. So he's redesigning a lot of the horses now, but to actually look like war horses. And I think you can especially see on that one on the right, that horse is ripped. Yes. Yeah, and I think that is a problem with some figures. I think a lot of wargaming horses do look really malnourished.
Yeah, they do.
And really, really skinny. And I said to you, something that I really like about the Warlord Arthurian cavalry sculpts. They are chunky. They are big. And I do feel that. I feel that they're, for some reason, I don't know if it's because people relied on very similar horse sculpts. I don't know, but war horses are big.
They've got to be big. They're carrying a big man with lots of armor and lots of weaponry. They're going to be big. They have to be to carry the damn thing. That's what I saw. So over to you. You saw the rest.
I'm getting some flat. Do I think I was married to Richard III in a former life? You have to.
I was going to put that up there. I thought, no, but that's I do. Well, anyway, I don't know what to say to that. That's not going to get me in trouble. Because Robin, I did tick the box to him that said he promised to follow Richard to war when he returns from Avalon. Okay, so I've seen a few things. So first of all, these are on pre-order. I know people are excited about these. So the peasant, I mean that peasant levy, that date they've put at the bottom there, 1100 to 1350. You could use these all in the Wars of the Roses. You could use these up through the period. You could just do a few weapon swaps or just use whatever. I mean, I was thinking that these would be perfect for Turnip as some kind of revolting horde of
I was thinking that they
could be peasants.
Yeah, they could definitely be turnipped.
Tufty peasants.
Tufty peasants.
Love it. I love it.
Tufty peasants. Next up, for the GW people, I know there's been some stuff here, but these have been getting, and I don't know why these interest me. I talked about these Spearhead boxes. Game Spearhead. So these are the Iron Jaws Big Mob. And so these boxes, which I think is this is getting more love than a lot of the other sort of Age of Sigmar. You buy the box and that's it. Yeah. There's no adding to it. There's no taking away from it. That's the army. That's the force that you use. And there's
and this is Games Workshop.
Yep. Yeah. What? So people are buying them. I mean,
once and done.
Yeah. But what people are doing is they're buying multiples. So they're getting like their orcs, their undead, their elk, because it's just one box. Okay, they're about 70 quid, but GW prices are GW prices, and that's an army, and then you're done. But they each have their own individual rules. The setting, the Spearhead, I think it has its own. The game is got a bit of a different flow to it. I think there's events and cards, and anyway, that's coming out for those people. This was previewed last week, which was the Snow Troll for the Middle Earth game. So I assumed this is what's going to be in the new War of the Rohirrim film. I assume that this is going to have a fist fight with Helm Hammerhand, and I'm hoping he's going to punch it to death. I'm actually quite excited about that film. Me and my daughter finished watching The Two Towers at the weekend. Tessa's gone full Lord of the Rings, much to Hayley's annoyance. She wants, genuinely for Christmas, she wants a Balrog. What do I do with that? What do I do with that?
She's definitely Haley's daughter. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I quite well, not according to Haley, because Haley showed her Harry Potter and she turned her nose up at it. I showed her Lord of the Rings. We sat through 6 hours of Lord of the Rings, and she's invested. She's invested. But yeah, I thought that would do quite well for any kind of fan. I just think it's quite cool.
It's a nice model.
Like it.
Yeah,
I quite like it. Burrows and Badgers have put up some previews of the next Kickstarter. There is a Weasel Warrior. I love the hand nonchalantly just in the belt. That's ace.
Yeah,
that's very cool. And then how's this one? I think that's an armored otter.
Well, obviously.
That is
with a poleaxe. Look at the tail in the plate armor.
That is
brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that is very, very cool.
I like that.
Very, very cool. Now, this one occasionally comes up across the channel, which is Carnivale, the TT combat game, which is like a skirmish game in Venice. They've got a new faction out called the Guild of Sanguine Sin. But I thought that the was, well, maybe not like the three sort of rather angry looking ladies with knives, but the one in the middle and the guy with the barrel on his back, they'd be quite good. I thought they looked quite cool. I thought they could be quite good townsfolk or used in RPGs. I have no idea how this game plays or if it's any good. It's still around and being stuff's made that people are making stuff for it. So you know, we'll have to see. And then finally, Spectre. Do you remember a few weeks ago we posted up that they were doing a Mythos kind of take
the Cthulhu one?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's, I think next week is where all the information comes out, but they've released some pictures. Look, so here are their 1920s sort of style investigators. Here are these are meant to be the Innsmouth residents. If anyone's into their Lovecraft, you'll know. But these are like like old god worshipping fish people. Is the best way. And then they kind of released this picture.
What? I mean, is he eating something, or is he regurgitating something, or is it just?
I think that's his head.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know if it's a Shoggoth. Is it or
Shoggoth,
what?
Yeah.
Shoggoth. What do you think, Dom? Is it a Shoggoth?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely Shoggoth. Yeah,
definitely a Shoggoth.
Definitely a Shoggoth. I'm interested.
I'm interested. It looks really good.
They make very nice miniatures, so I'd be very very keen to see what they come up with. Alex wants us to know it's actually Shub Niggurath. Not a Shoggoth. Dom, how could you have been so foolish?
Oh, sorry, Alex. Oh my god, how could I get that wrong? I shall turn in my badge now.
According to Robin, Cthulhu is Midsummer Murders for emos.
What?
That's actually one of his better. Very good.
I forgot he hates Cthulhu. Yes. Right. Okay then. So bearing in mind what we've already talked about, we've got a lot of starred comments to get through, and then of course all the awesome pictures that you guys sent in. But David actually had he replied to the post on the stream. And I actually I liked the question, which I've now just managed to go away from it. Here we are. Probably not going to have time to go through all of them, but how this is fair enough. How much does the level of conflict change how you set up your scenery? For example, what factors do you think about if you're fighting like Napoleonic battles, or if you're fighting a skirmish game where you're just going to steal some pigs? I mean, I can say straight away with skirmish gaming, I prefer denser terrain.
Yeah. It's
straight away.
When I set that Space Weirdo stuff up, it's packed. There's no like clear lines of fire. There's no alleyways just you can shoot across from one side of the board to the other. It's all about breaking up those sort of fire zones. And that's how I always, when I set it up, I always make sure that it's densely packed.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. When doing Napoleonic games, a bit. Well, I was thinking about your game here, Dom, at CrackCon. Your Napoleonic game, because that was Leipzig, wasn't it? That was
it was one of the Leipzig fronts. Yeah.
So and that had quite wide. I mean, because that's just what was it, that scenario, wasn't it?
It was. So it's interesting because I mean, I would traditionally, I think, have said, for a proper, if I was doing a Napoleonic game or even an Ancients game or something like that, I would probably minimize the terrain, because, as you say, the problem is you don't want battalions falling over when you're putting them into it or trying to squeeze them into a farmyard or something. It just, you want it to be playable with. So I think that's more my criteria than actually necessarily the amount of terrain. But it's also the setting. So if you're playing a game in, I don't know, the retreat from Moscow or something, you're not going to have it packed with loads and loads of terrain because it's quite open, quite barren, etc. So it's more the theme, I guess, that works for me on that. But yeah, I mean, as a principle, I think I guess the bit that it comes out most is, so when you're doing a game like that one we played and I showed the pictures of, the villages you can just represent as an area. If you play a skirmish game, you need to have buildings that you can move troops in or into. Probably individual buildings become important features in their own right. So having just 2 buildings to represent a small village is not going to work. You need 10 buildings probably. So that immediately changes everything.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Because we accept that 24 guys, 36 guys actually represent 500.
Yeah.
And we also accept that one house represents a whole hamlet, or 2 or 3 houses represent a village, right? That's always fun to me when we're playing Black Powder and you get a battalion. You're like, my battalion's going to get in that house, and in the back of my head, like,
exactly.
Who's top and tailing? No one's not. And it's part of the you suspend your disbelief for the units, so you also suspend your disbelief a little bit with the terrain. But it kind of forms part of another part of a question which he had, which is, should the terrain scale match the game scale, i.e. ranges from of a movement or miniatures? That is interesting. Do you know where I struggled with that? The castle.
Yep. Yes.
That's a struggle, because let's face it, castles are massive,
big ass things,
right? They're not small. Okay. And that's why in the end I only did a corner. I had the gatehouse in one corner and didn't even bother with the keep, and we had a perfectly good game, because my original plan, it would be amazing to have the whole of a castle represented on the table, but let's be honest, a lot of it isn't going to see any action. It's going to be space time, so I kind of tried to split the difference, and so that's kind of what I felt there. What about you, Steve? What about how would you deal with it to do with scale? Although obviously a lot of your stuff is skirmish based.
It's going to be an unpopular opinion, this.
Ooh, we like those.
We've had a few of those already.
If I'm gaming, I like lower figure games. So like Space Weirdos, you're under 10 figures. I find what happens to those individual figures more interesting than what happens to a battalion. Telling a personal story about someone in this, especially in a horrible sci-fi, futuristic setting, they're getting shot at, they're getting all kinds of stuff like that. I find that more interesting than 1,000 blokes stood in a line and fired at another 1,000 blokes. I mean, that to me doesn't do it for me. But from the narrative, so from the terrain perspective, it's got to fit that. It's got to be, like I say, dense. It's got to be a really dense terrain setup. But yeah, again, the terrain reflects the narrative for me.
But I agree. But I also like it with larger battles. I also feel it needs to reflect the narrative, and it also kind of taken into account historically what that terrain was like. So for the Gregovia game that we did at CrackCon, and I know Dom before Dom kindly went and put on that Napoleonic game, I was fretting about this. Gregovia when you read about the battle, you're like, oh yeah, they went up a hill and they assaulted, the Gauls, and then you look at it and it's a cliff. It's like it's an actual cliff. It's it's just like, oh, okay, we're gonna have to work around this a bit. There's still gonna have to be some elevation on the battlefield, and I used a lot of cloths and towels, but
there has to be compromises, doesn't there? When you're playing you're playing toy soldiers on a tabletop, you're compromising on the scale with the figures, and also, like you said, the battalion sizes. It used to be back in the day, it was like 1 to 3, one figure to 33 real men or whatever, and you worked out the exact scale. That's all gone. You don't do that anymore. Most people don't. So you've got to sort of compromise in how you set things up, and also, you put on if we put a proper 28 mil church or something on that table that we were playing with the other day, it would have taken up half the table, because at 28 mil, that's the size it really is, and it's not practical. So you have to scale it down to something that's probably, if it was real life, you get 2 people in there, you wouldn't get a whole village congregation in there, so or a town or anything else. So you've got to scale things down to make it appropriate for the game anyway. Again, now, if you were doing a skirmish game, you might want one of those massive church models that I've seen lots of people modeling, because you're going to be fighting around the tube, and that's the table, isn't it? I mean, that's the fight. So it's a compromise.
I think it is as well, because I mean, at World War II, I mean, a good example would be like Point de Hoc on D-Day. I mean, are you going to be able to physically represent that on a tabletop? I mean, you probably could. It's going to take you a while to do.
Yeah.
And it would probably look freaking awesome. It really would. But like I said, it's all about compromise. And I think with bigger games, sort of the rank and flank games, I think you can get away with more compromising with scenery, whereas with like sort of lower figure count games, skirmish, even bolt action to an extent. You want those buildings to sort of be an accurate representation of what you're fighting over.
I think skirmish games are harder to make the terrain work, don't you think? In terms of making sense in terms of the layout and making it useful to use. It's I think much harder in a skirmish game.
Yeah, because I've found with Space Waders, if you set the scenery up wrong, the games are over pretty quick.
The game's gone.
Because there's not much cover.
You favour one side too much to give them slightly too much cover. The other side gets gunned down. Yeah. It's no fun for anybody. So it makes less of a problem on a big game, I think, generally.
Well, look, I mean, I've learned the recent videos, the recent Midgard videos. The scenery there wasn't. It was all towards the end. It was very very peripheral. It was more to add to the visual look of it. It was a bit of rough ground, but you don't really want that, though, do you? You need that open space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's I do that a lot in our games. I try to create, because obviously I like taking photos and videos, and it's about depth. So having an actual skyline with stuff on it help, rather than it just going, like desert, blue sky, having some stuff to break it. Let's start having a look at the comments, because I'm just conscious of time. It's been a really, really good conversation. I've enjoyed this. Alex said, moderately painted army will look better on a table with terrific scenery than a terrifically painted army on a crappy table. That's a statement.
But will the game be still as good? But yes, you're right.
Yorkshire said what? Well, he basically agreed with Alex, and Alex said he hates seeing people playing on bottle green MDF boards. It's so simple to throw a mat across it and make it look a million times better. I think mats are definitely I really like mats. I used to do a lot of bespoke tables. I've got loads. I was trying to palm them off on you lot. Ken's got 3 of them, and he was on about double-siding one of them. Anyway, but now I'm fully just mats and crates, because there are ways and little tricks you can do to just make things, just fit together quite nicely. Paul, I didn't see that comment when it came in. Scenery is not as important as rockets. But you've got to have some good scenery for the rocket to hit. Friends of General Haig says it is all about immersion for him. Benjamin said, I love it when tournaments invite players to bring along terrain and they give the best table, similar to Best Painted.
That's a very nice thing. I've never heard of that. That's brilliant. Love it.
Nice thing. We did it.
No, we did Best Game, didn't we?
That's Best Table.
All right. Well,
is it Best Table? Then. Best Game? Same thing?
Best
Same
Game,
thing.
I think.
Was it Game?
What I mean is the best table, the best looking table. I think that's really
we'll have to do it.
We'll do it.
Storm of Steel said it's an immersive and aesthetic hobby that should stretch to the tabletop as well. Very strong points from Alex. We've got
Tell us what you really think, Alex. Come on.
He'll save that till we do the World War I topic week. David, I spend more time making set on pieces these days, fences, walls, telegraph poles, but the buildings themselves are by MDF or 3D printed. I tend to do 3D printed, and not just because I've got a 3D printer, but I prefer them to MDF because I like, like the brickwork and wood, the relief that you see on the brick. I prefer that to MDF stuff, but I still like, there are some MDF things that I do like wooden structures in MDF are great, like like the Western buildings, and like
I find MDF is really very rarely does it go together so beautifully that you think, oh my goodness, that's not MDF. Whereas 3D printed or resin or what have you, it looks like it doesn't look like it's a kit anymore.
I know what you mean.
If I was to get a 3D printer these days, the only reason probably I'd get it would be for terrain.
Yeah.
So I could do all those individual buildings or things that you want. But then I just
No, it's like, that's it. I mean, look, that's what I was saying. That's what's just come off the printer. Another one of those. So and that's that'll be making its way for our Ruckus game. We're going to have a little village that they're going to be spoiling over. Rich said they used to use a green sheet over the table with some books. I used to use the Sabutio cloth.
Yeah, Sabutio was my one.
Yeah, that's what I went for. Ralph said, I wonder whether competition gaming normalizes quick and cheap terrain. Yes, I'd say. For obvious reasons, organizers of tournaments need to generate a lot of terrain cheaply. I would actually go a little bit further than that and say that games like 40k, which are games which are geared to competition gaming, are obviously going to set their scenarios in a certain way, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the way the scenarios are set up in these games don't always lead themselves to, everyone likes a nice immersive table, but I can't think of many 40k tables I've seen that are,
I don't know that it's necessarily the quality of the terrain, but I think certainly, obviously I'm an expert on 40k, but I think in terms of competition gaming generally is set up to be even-handed. So it'll be like a wood here, to mirror imaging each other. There'll be a building there, and to match up with that, there'll be a rough ground here. You know what I mean? So it'll be built in a way that balances things out, which doesn't allow that immersion because it's not real. Nothing real is like that.
And
the terrain can still be lovely.
That comes back down to that idea of balance. Why has it got to be? We've talked about, asymmetric
competition. You want that.
Yeah, you do. But the way that 40k in these games are built is everything is set up to be fair. It's like, no, choke points, valleys where you can rain arrows down on your opponents, because if they're a good general, they'll get out of it. They'll be good, they want to win against you. But then I guess that's just
that's why you don't do competitions, mate.
Different strokes. I nearly signed up for one. Simon said some games demand more scenery than others.
1973. Sorry.
Perversely, I find skirmish games need more than big battles. You can still have nice sparse terrain. Yeah. What we said. Robin, why bother about looking up the flags and uniforms if you aren't going to at least use portable terrain and build? That's a fair point. It's a fair point. Baron's War competition tables. That's a good shout. Actually, that's a good shout. They are of a high order. Next up, Yorkshire says worst piece of scenery: random cliff faces in the middle of landscapes. Yes. Yes. Yeah, random rocks, like big boulders for no reason in like the middle, like just like why is that in the middle of like a ploughed field? Like why is that
there? Why is that there? It makes no sense at all.
Why? Absolutely. Kevin, what's the best size for a table for Dead Man's Hand? 2x2 or 3x3? I use a 2x2, but 3x3 because 2x2 is you're in combat very quickly in a 2x2. I like my games quick and brutal. So Tony said, I have to admit that I felt a bit of trepidation preparing for my Amon Hen game at CrackCon, especially with my flight baggage limitations. I'm grateful the players embraced it, and it was fantastic. And it did, but it good because with Amon Hen, there's a key piece of scenery which is the seat, the seeing seat, and then it's lots of woods and then ruins, and he encapsulated that so well, and he had the elevation on the table as well. No, that looked awesome. Shell Shop Scenics. No, do without the terrain. Do without the terrain piece. I couldn't be dealing without a place terrain. I think he's saying that it has to be period specific. Yeah, I think that's what he's saying.
So that's right. It's like when you see ball tax and I know it's a tournament, but when you see like the long range desert group fighting in Eastern Europe, that I think for me that would. I'd still play, but it would kill any kind of immersion. I just don't think I'd like that.
Yeah. No, I see. That's the thing as well. I guess it's just how I've changed. Personally, I just like playing battles. Because I lose so much. I've gotten over the fact I don't really care about winning anymore. So I've got to get something out of it. So I want it to look pretty. I want my little war dollies to fight on a pretty table. Andy says someone criticizes timber frame buildings because the type of timber framing on my model apparently wasn't used in that part of Europe. Well, you should have known better.
Yeah,
that's
idiots.
And I hope you burned all your scenery after the game.
Oh, well, you know my friend Tansy, who comes to CrackCon, who lives in Derby, because she is a historic building recorder. She works for the palaces. She does all sorts. So I was very proud of myself once when I did one of my medieval buildings, and I sent it to her, and I got back a critique of everything that was wrong with it from from the standpoint of what I was trying to represent. And at the end, it said, "Looks really nice, though. I'm sure it'll be fine."
That's quite condescending, isn't it? You've just ripped somebody a new one and then go. Oh, yeah, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, well, I'm just not going to ask her ever again. John said, idea for a drinking game. Every time Steve says space weirdos, everyone drinks. You'd all be shit-faced in less than an hour.
We would be shit-faced so quickly.
Remember.
It's a fantastic game.
Remember, the last one of the year, we are going to be doing bingo, and that is the goal. We are. Rob said, scenery, matter of personal choice. Does anyone think time is overlooked on a war game table? Is time and weather reflected accurately as much as scenery on the wargaming table? E.g., Waterloo started a battle early, Blucher not arriving. That's a question for another day. Is how can we? That's a good question.
Yeah,
that's a good question. Steve, it's your week next week.
It's my week.
You have a good.
Let's see. I wonder what next week will be about.
That's a really good, because that's true. Because a lot of people either break it into multiple scenarios. Or they have a timer, Dom, which works beautifully. With events. You had a lot of compliments on that timer. I noticed in your comments.
We did. And you know, a certain Dave Brown sent me an email. Said that thing you were talking about with that. So if GDA 3 comes out with a timer thing, where it came from.
Tony, that's the advantage of playing games set in a period rather than specific battles. More freedom to play with what you want to use applies to terrain and models. Absolutely. Alex, clumps of foliage and long grass work well as they break up open areas. Couldn't agree more. Completely. Just chuck them on. Get a bag, mix it all together, throw it on the table. And then anything
fill it with toy soldiers, then it doesn't matter. All those.
There's that as well. Middies with a chance of history. How you doing, dude? My favorite battle for terrain is Gargamela, as the Persians deliberately flattened the area and removed all the scenery for the benefit of their chariots. Thanks, Darius. Much obliged. Mike, scenery is completely unnecessary, but good terrain is essential. Interesting. Good shout. That's a tagline. That is deep. I feel like that should be on a fortune cookie, a wargaming fortune cookie. Side question: does difficult terrain stop you pursuing a project? Yeah, we already covered that one. How are you doing? Naval games get away with little or no terrain.
That's true.
That's very true. Ben, he's building a 28mm Alamo, which will take up 4x8 table. Yeah.
Whoa.
Well,
Nice.
I've got La Haison, and it takes up maybe a 1.5 foot by 1.5 foot area. It shouldn't. It should be taken up like 4 foot by 4 foot.
Well, that's what I was saying about the different size of models, because I've got the Hugamon from Hovels, and you put it together, it takes up pretty much a whole 6x4 table, which is fantastic if you're doing a scenario that happens to be a fight over Hugamon. If you're trying to feature it in a Battle of Waterloo, it's a little bit restrictive on space.
Yeah. Well, we can discuss that next week in Steve's representing timing about. And Shaco's right. Bridges and rivers get compressed in war games. No, absolutely.
Absolutely right.
John said, excellent terrain usually travels poorly. That's true. But
that's very true. Often when I go to the club, I'll take just a few bits and bobs, or I won't bother at all.
I say this
look like this.
Yeah, there's some things you can take though. Bag of lichen does wonders.
Yeah, you're obsessed with lichen. Jeez.
It's Robin. It's infectious. I've probably got it growing around my brainstem. He leaves so much of it in the house. Across the pond, Colin. A few months ago, the wife asked what I was doing, and she was not happy with my reply for researching early 19th century agricultural practice and tree species in Finland. That's amazing. But no, fantastic. Right then. Well, what I think we'll do to see us out. It's been fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. For taking the time to join us tonight. We got a lot of pictures now. I saved a lot, and I know that people were continuing to post while we were in the green room or whatever it's called before the stream started. So if I've missed it, apologies. Go over and have a look at some of these tables. So to kick things off here, here's a Flames of War set up from Benjamin. Now straight away from that, I love. Do you know what I like about that the most? I love the height. Yes.
You know, I hadn't even noticed that until you mentioned that. That's brilliant.
Yeah. I really love that, because you can have a lot of fun with that if you're, with artillery or tank. That's really nice. Really cool. It's definitely, and that's it. Elevation can play such an important role.
And we haven't even touched on scale, because that'll be 15 mil, won't it?
That's 15. Yeah.
So that's which also. There's not quite as much good terrain on the whole for smaller scales, is there? I don't think.
No. Is that because 28mm is king?
Obviously.
But it's starting to come through. To be fair, but that's with the adject of 3D
printers again. Yeah, exactly. You're right. I think
really can. So it's very nice and very cool. Andrew. I loved this one.
Oh, that's cool.
Right, that's
very cool. And again, just broken up nicely. It's not too dense, but with enough stuff in there that you've got to be a bit tactical about. Now, I think this was sharp practice. I think he said.
Yeah, it looks. I was going to say that has to be a sharp practice game. That's perfect for it.
And he's done something that I know this. Robin will approve of this, because Robin hates it when we set up roads and they're at a 90-degree angle to where you're saying. So he likes them when they're at 45-degree angle, like that there. So you've got that avenue of fight. So you're not just shooting straight at each other right to start the game. David, he's done his 6mm stuff here. So this was, for battle specific stuff with purpose-built terrain to represent that. So of course, this is playing. Spitting out my words now. This is playing at a small miniatures, large scale battles where each one of these bases is like a whole, battalion or I know that's wrong, regiment, whatever, brigade, corps. But again, you've got to make that decision about whether, and I believe he said in his post about whether or not you're building it bespoke or you're going to take it so it travels easier. And so, very nice. Carl, and then on the
travels easy at 6 mil, right?
And then I put these two together deliberately. So you've got this one here, and then I just think they're both fantastic. And you've got Carl,
really
and you've got Carl's Dead Man's Hand building, which of course we saw in CrackCon, which is that's a fantastic build.
That's
brilliant
table, brilliant.
This is another one. I don't think I could play Dead Man's Hand on a non-Western table. I don't think I could do it.
It's funny, we were talking about this. We were talking about having a game and setting it away from the town, but it just seems wrong.
Well, I thought about that. I thought about doing like a loggers camp and having lots of trees.
Yeah,
you know, like in
Yeah.
Pale Rider, you've got all the
Mhm.
loggers, you know, and then I just thought about it. I was like, yeah, but Western Town is just, it's a Western, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, Dave, on the other hand, I shared this because he's playing GDA, so he said he needed lots of wide open areas, and it wasn't so much as a concern for him. And I can see why when you've got that many figures on the table.
Yeah, GDA, you need a bit. It's that thing about having enough terrain to make it look interesting, but really, it's the troops then that make the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's about mass battalions.
Yeah, Gary is putting his table together now. I can't remember if this was 40k or not, but look at look at that bridge in the background. That's a river. That's a bridge.
See, that's a proper color as well, Robin. Just saying that.
I love ruined landscapes like that. I just think when you've got a whole set of like Stalingrad or.
You can see a scenario in that.
Oh God, yes,
can't you? Or multiple scenarios in that.
I always wanted to do a Budapest board.
I mean, saying
yeah, that was always one. Next up, we have John. So you have that where you have some really nice sort of like, but a cliff face that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lawrence. Look at that.
Oh,
again,
that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, but again, like it's just like. We're going to put a telegraph poles. We're putting the bushes, down the side of the road where they would be. It makes sense. Marcus. Now this is a modern table.
Nice.
So lots of trainers. A whole post. If you go and click on my post in the Facebook group about these, you'll see all of these cool setups in there, and there's loads. I've only saved one photo from each, more or less. There's actually another one that I did save too. But go down there and they explain a lot more. And I'm sure if anyone has any questions, people will be happy to answer. Matt, look at that.
Oh,
wow. That's a proper big game.
Look at that church. Look at the size of it.
I genuinely thought that was Ken for 2 seconds.
I had to look twice. That's not Ken.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is fantastic. That is brilliant.
Yeah. That is very cool. Matt, with his Star Wars Legion.
Lovely.
Yeah. See, yeah. But you see, he's done. He's in a forest, but he's added, a simple bit of terrain in that to just make it Star Wars. I say simple; it's an X-wing. So, Mitchell, he said he was limited by Saga. He plays Saga, and he said he was a bit limited. But again, is that I didn't quite understand if he meant limited by what he could use because of the game system, or limited because it was Dark Ages. Sorry,
I think it's the game system probably because I think it is.
Yeah,
it does limit you a bit.
It does. It does actually. Paul, he put this is the many would-be kings.
Oh, I love trains on a tabletop setup as well. I think no matter what period it is, it certainly adds something to it.
Definitely.
Rob, 15 mil Barons Wars.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Lovely little village. Look at that. Looks like that probably not dissimilar to what your village looked like, Dom. Now I know where you. Very nice.
I like it.
Very, very cool. 44 foot. Silas has put this. I really like this. Look at that.
That's cool.
The ruin.
Yeah,
all the ruins.
That was very cool. But again, just throwing those bits on the table isn't necessary. But it makes it so much more immersive. And again, it's odd. They're just. I think a lot of that is the offcuts from NDF buildings.
It looks like it. To be fair,
yeah, they're perfect. Just break them up and chuck on. Tim, I love this one. But again, in the desert, nice. But he's again. I just really like the setup. The roads,
very simple, but you know exactly where you are, don't you?
And what you're doing exactly. Yeah. Stephen, I know we're in overtime here, but we're just going for it. Just figures and fields. Figures and fields. That's going to be my rule set. Figures and fields. That's going to be my that'll be my rule set.
Just don't do feeling figures. No.
No. Very, very cool. And then Tony is putting together like a more time table using tiles.
Oh,
so
nice.
Pleased for that one. So he's got that. Warren. This is for Chain of Command.
That's good
Very
as well,
cool.
isn't it?
But again,
Yeah.
it
It's
just
just
makes sense.
yeah.
It makes
But
sense.
what's obvious in all these ones we're seeing is you can see they make sense for the game you're playing. Not only can you tell the period, the front in most cases where they are, or the set, but you also the type of game. Because if you had masses of terrain on some of them, it just wouldn't work, and others more skirmishing, you need a bit. So it just works nicely.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. Benjamin, this is the second one for Benjamin because I just had to post it up because he did Senlac Hill, obviously. Very nice. How about that one though from Simon?
That is lovely, isn't it?
That is beautiful.
Really cool.
That is beautiful. And then to finish things off, Alid did this one. And I really like this one as well. I like the avenues, the lanes.
Good.
Very cool. And again, you know exactly where you are. Guys, thank you so much. We are 6 minutes into overtime. So I think we'll just wait. It's very quick. Thank you very much for joining us. You can find all of the links down below. Next week, we're on Steve's channel where he's now got a topic, so he hasn't got to think of one. And we'll, of course, give you the list of who's doing what in December in the next few days. In the meantime, I think all that's left to say is we hope you have a fantastic week, and we will see you all again soon. I believe my wife has just got home with the shopping, and I've got to go and help put it away. I can hear a lot of things being put into cupboards.
Happy Thanksgiving to all our American friends on there, because Thursday is Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. What a way to end it. Cheers. We will see you guys all again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.